Hello and welcome to this Excel programming course for clinicians. My name is Dolotson Callon. I am a healthcare scientist with over 25 years of experience working in and directing clinical diagnostic laboratories. And in all that time, I've made extensive use of Excel and the programming of Excel to help us automate our processes and to optimize the services we provide. And I am very excited to help guide you on your Excel programming journey. This course is aimed at clinical colleagues with little or no experience of programming. You might be a doctor or a nurse, a pharmacist, therapist, or healthcare scientist. And if you're anything like me, you're probably using Excel to manage your patients and your services. Now, we can have a debate about whether or not we should be using Excel like this, but there is no getting away from just how useful and powerful it is. However, you may have reached a point where you think you could get so much more out of Excel if only you knew a little bit of programming. You may or may not have recorded and edited a couple of macros. If this is you, then welcome and thank you very much for taking this course with me. During this course, I will assume no programming knowledge. We will start together from the absolute fundamentals, and with each lesson we will build on the key concepts learned from the lessons before until by the end of the course, you can confidently program in Excel at an advanced enough level to automate many of your key processes. You might, for instance, want to be able to import data so that you can update a dashboard such as this one, or you might want to create a clinical calculator such as the EGFR calculator we have here. I will show you everything you need to know so that by the end of the course, you will create this EGFR calculator. During this course, I'm going to introduce you to the concept of objects, and we'll take a look at some of the key objects such as workbooks and worksheets, cells and ranges. We'll talk about how a lot of programming is just about understanding how you can manipulate the properties of these objects, such as the value of a cell, or how you can carry out actions on an object, such as activating a worksheet, for instance. I will introduce you to the concept of variables, and I will show you how these can be used as bins or buckets into which you can place data for use later on in your program. Next, I'll remind you of your Boolean logic and comparison operators such as greater than, less than, and we'll go through some basic mathematics. Now, all of these will be very simple concepts, but it's important to know the notations used for these in Excel programming, especially if you're planning to create calculators or really do any sort of calculation in your program. With these foundations in place, we can then start to introduce some really powerful tools, including use of conditional statements such as if male do X, otherwise if female do Y. From there, we'll then look at different ways in which you can loop through collections, such as lists of patients, for instance, and repeat sets of actions. Now, this becomes really powerful when you can combine it with writing little bits of programming code into subroutines or functions so that we can reuse them without having to rewrite them all of the time. Now, there are many times when you want to convey some information to users of your program, or you may want to get data from them, and I'll show you how to do that. Next, we'll get into what for me is one of the most useful skills, especially when working with clinical data, and that is knowing how to work with text or strings, as we call them in Excel programming. As you know, a lot of clinical data comes to us as unstructured text. And so the ability to clean up that text and put it into some sort of structure is really powerful. Next, you could say that dates are probably one of the most important items of data we deal with in a clinical setting. Everything from date of birth to date of a particular diagnosis or date treatment started are all vitally important. And I will show you how to work with dates to do calculations or to trigger actions based on dates. By this point, you would have built up a strong foundation. And one of the only other things to be aware of is that sometimes the data that we get is not in the right format. And so you need to learn how to transform data between different formats. Now, after all that, you'll be ready for some really advanced features. We will cover file operations, including how to open and save Excel files and how to close them. And we'll cover how to open text files and either get data from a text file into Excel or export data from Excel to a text file. Finally, I will cover an advanced type of variable known as an array, and I will show you how arrays really multiply the power of using variables as bins and buckets into which we can place data. Now, to make your Excel programs robust, I will show you how to anticipate everything that could potentially go wrong and every type of error that could occur, and make sure that your program is written in a way that can handle that. Finally, we will put everything together and you, believe it or not, will create this EGFR calculator that we have here. Now, for every lesson, I will provide you with a blank Excel file as well as a completed file so that you can follow along with the exercises as we go along. I will urge you to try and work through the files on your own before looking at the completed example. Like any other skill, Excel programming takes practice to become skilled at. I'll provide some extra files for you that are maybe not covered in the lesson so that you can use those for practice and to consolidate your knowledge. There's also a Q&A facility which I will monitor and try to reply to as many questions as possible. So I hope you're excited to start this Excel journey. I'm excited to work with you, and I will see you in the next video.